Now, we've talked about this before in Module 1 as well, but that brain-gut connection. Because, we've said it time and time again, what we're putting in our bodies, it is resulting in how we're feeling. Think about how you feel when you have a tummy ache. I don't care what you're trying to do, whether it be a therapy, whether it be a class that you're in at school, whether it be, even if you're just trying to have fun. If you're not feeling well, that's going to have a direct effect on how your behavior is going to be. And so when we're looking at that, we want to look at signs of digestion issues, things like bloating, constipation, diarrhea. And that's when we really want to look at bringing enzymes together. Again, you just heard me say, I don't believe we can do one without the other. They work synergistically together in the body. Again, that brain-gut connection. I talked about leaky gut in Module 1. Go back and listen to that. We talked about healing and sealing that gut. And we also talked about what enzymes are. Enzymes are the workers of the body, right? They all have specific functions that they're supposed to do. Enzymes work within a specific pH and temperature range, and there are thousands of different enzymes functioning in our bodies, each with a unique role. When I'm talking about enzymes, though, I'm talking about digestive enzymes when I'm bringing it together with a diet, right? I think of it as like this little Pac-Man going in and helping break up that food for proper digestion and absorption. You just heard me say that. When we look at digestive enzymes, we want to look at where do we originally find them to begin with? Well, there's only 3 places. In raw food, that's produced in our pancreas and GI tract, and again, supplemental form. Again, I go in a little bit more depth in Module 1. Please go back and watch that. So why enzymes for autism? Like, why would our 2-year-old already be enzyme deficient, right? Well, I want us to think about when we cook our food, like I was talking about in Module 1, we denature those enzymes. So basically that means at 118 degrees, we denature the enzyme activity. Think about eating fast food and processed foods. How much enzyme activity do you really think is going on in there? And when we're thinking about autism, really we want to think about why those pathways may be blocked. Well, some of the theories out there are they could be blocked due to viruses, yeast, metals, bacteria, and really the list goes on and on. Well, when does someone take an enzyme and how do they do it? Well, a digestive enzyme, something like we were talking about, like Enzymedica's brand Digest Spectrum, the one that I particularly love, this would be taken with the first bite of food. If your child can't swallow, you would just twist open that capsule. You'd put it in a little bit of water or juice. You would stir till it dissolves and give that with the first bite of food. You can also add it to things like applesauce or pear sauce. Again, put that on the first bite. If your child's at school, you can get a note from your doctor and have the school give it before lunch. This doesn't happen in every state, but definitely in certain states we can do this. For those states that can't do this, I would recommend giving it at breakfast time when you have your child, at dinner time when you have your child, and as soon as your child gets home from school. Definitely just try to get that activity in your child. Another thing is, can you give multiple enzymes at once? I gave an example in Module 1 about this. So, for example, if your child was taking a product, for example, the product I was telling you, Enzymedica's Digest Spectrum. If you're taking that product and let's say you still need a little bit more support and you know your child has major issues with gluten and casein and maybe they're not fully on the diet yet because you're just trying to transition them into it, then you could give another product that Enzymedica makes called Glutenese. Could I give Glutenese and Digest Spectrum together? Absolutely. Enzymes will never be wasted in the body. They'll always find something to do. So we definitely can give both of those together. So let's say serving size recommended dose for Digest Spectrum would be 2 per meal. Maybe you give 1. I think the serving size recommended dose for Glutenese is 1. You then would just give 2 and 1, and you could combine those, break them or twist them open if they don't swallow capsules. And again, I go into more of that into Module 1. Definitely please watch that to get more information on that. I even give a tip on if, and I'll tell you briefly, if your child starts to get dryness or cracked lips, what you want to do is, especially if they're not swallowing the capsule, what you want to do is just put a little bit of chapstick or olive oil or coconut oil to kind of create a barrier on the lips, because the enzymes are going to go after the dead skin cells around those lips. So if you start to see an issue with that, then that's basically a quick fix to do. And not just enzymes, we actually see other supplements do that as well. So you might want to consider that when you're giving your children supplements that you have to twist open and put in either juice, water, or food. Okay, so another thing we talked about in Module 2 actually was biomedical and reasons to see a doctor who specializes in autism. Well, the analogy I gave before is, if you had a toothache, would you go to a podiatrist? No. You want to go to a dentist. That's a doctor who specializes in our teeth, right? Same thing with our kids. If we want to go to a doctor that specializes in autism, we want to know about them. There are many out there, and I definitely go down that list. Go back to Module 1 to see the different doctors that are out there. There's MAPS doctors, there's ARI doctors, there's AMAB doctors, there's homeopathic doctors, naturopathic doctors, you have nutritional kind of supplemental doctors, you have, and what I mean by that, you have, these are people that really believe in diet and supplements together. Even really thinking outside the box, you have chiropractors, you have acupuncturists, you have nutritionists, dietitians. I know some of those aren't classified as doctors. However, we want to build our team together, and we want them specializing in autism. You want to interview your doctor. You want to ask them, how long have you been doing this? Why are you passionate about doing this? When was your last training? These are huge, huge questions. One of my favorite sites right now is medmaps.org. Definitely go there and get some information. These are doctors that are being trained. AMAB is another great one that they are also training or have had trainings in the past. ARI, of course, Autism Research Institute, and Autism One is another great resource. NAA, National Autism Association, ASA. I mean, really, the list goes on and on. There's some great conferences out there. Please, please, please find out when these doctors' last training was, because new protocols and new research is constantly being done. But again, I go into more depth in Module 2 about that. Toxin-free cleaners. You know, we talk about why that's important. Basically, we're just asking you to switch one cleaner for another. A lot of times we think of our kids as having a bucket full of toxic, kind of overload, toxins that are kind of spilling out. Why do we want to add more to that? When we can just change one cleaner for another, or change one laundry detergent for another, or one toiletry for another. One thing to always do, and this is true with food labels and with any household cleaner labels, when in doubt, call the manufacturer. Let's make sure that there's no gluten if it does not say gluten-free. Very, very important. And I'm not trying to say freak out, you have to live in a bubble. Absolutely not. We live in this world, we just have to do the best we can. Again, I'm just saying switch one for the other, and definitely go back to Module 2 and listen to more, because I definitely go into depth in Module 2. We also talk about what is sensory integration. Well, sensory integration is everything we think, feel, taste, see, and hear. That involves our senses, right? It's how our bodies process information. It's when we can't process that information, we have what we call a sensory overload, right? A lot of our kiddos are getting something that we think of as sensory processing disorders. That's because they're not able to process the information, perhaps the way you and I are. One thing we can do is we can really try to see it through our children's eyes. One thing I like to think of is a good friend always tries to see things from your point of view, right? That's what we try to do as friends. Same thing with our kiddos. You know, we definitely talked about so many things through Module 1 and 4. Again, this is just kind of a wrap up of what we talked about, and hopefully giving you a, kind of a small piece of summaries, so that way you can go back and watch those. Where do you go from here? Because goodness, we have talked about a lot. Well, look into a diet, start a food diary, look into a diet, and start to kind of bridge that with the enzymes. And again, see it through your child's eyes. Our children are always trying to do the best they know how. It's up to us to look at those options and figure out what works best for them. The other thing is, we love you guys to stay connected with us. There's definitely resources we have for that. Obviously, we have this YouTube channel. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have blogs. We have a radio show that Ron Kaufman and myself do on Autism One Radio every other Monday. You know, if you have something you want us to learn more about, if you have a topic you want to hear more about, just contact us. We will do our best to be able to get that done for you. You know, when we think about all the different pieces of autism, and I've definitely said this, Module 1 through 4, but, you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. How many of you guys have ever gone to a store, department store, and I've said this analogy in the past, but you look at where that t-shirt says one size fits all? How many of us have tried that on and it didn't fit us? Same thing with when we're thinking about autism. Not every option is going to work for every child, but what's crucial is that we learn about every option out there. New research, new protocols, new therapies are coming out to help our kids. And it's important for us to keep up with those because we want to give our kids the best chance at success. So I will leave you with something we found, and it's kind of one of my favorite things to read here, and I think it really kind of sums it up the best way that I can at least think of. It says, everything will fall into place. Life is like a giant puzzle. Though our future may not be clear or turn out exactly as we expected, each of us has the strength inside to basically put the puzzle together. We just have to look for all the right pieces. It may seem impossible, but keep striving. Life's pieces have a way of falling into place when you least expect it. And I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I'm constantly looking at how my son is growing and how my son is thriving. And I don't know what's going to happen in 5 months or 6 months. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. But what I do know is that I'm never going to stop believing in him. I'm never going to stop believing that basically the possibilities are endless. And so what I hope for you guys and for your kiddos out there at any age is we never believe the window's going to close. We absolutely believe that we can pull our kids through at any time, any place, and any age. I want many of us to think about somebody who had a stroke, right? If somebody had a stroke at the age of 80, we used to believe if they lost their motor ability or their ability to speak, that they wouldn't ever be able to regain that. How many of you guys know somebody in their 80s who's had a stroke, lost their speech and lost their motor abilities, and yet was able to regain that? My goodness, if somebody in their 80s and is able to regain that ability, why would we believe that somebody who's 2 or 10 or 16 or 22 or 52 won't be able to, with new therapies and new protocols, be able to regain their speech or have speech for the first time? We don't know enough about the human brain, but that's what's the most exciting thing about this, because all these doctors are out there trying their best to research different therapies, different protocols, different biomedical methods, and be able to figure out why this is happening. And I don't believe that why my child got autism might be the same reason your child did. I believe there's different subgroups. I believe that there's all these different theories. But what I do believe that all of us have in common is we should never, ever give up. So I hope these modules helped you guys. I hope you guys stay connected with us. And I hope you really believe that recovery is not just a hope for our kids anymore. It truly is a reality. I wish you guys the very, very best. Bye, you guys.